What's up, everybody? And today we're checking out what happens when U.S. Navy sailors have a burial in the middle of the sea. This is by Navy Productions. I haven't seen this before. I haven't actually seen like a at-sea burial before, which is ironic considering I was on a ship. But yeah, we just never were in that position to see a naval burial, burial at sea. I wonder if my dad has. My dad was in the Falklands War, so there's probably more of a chance of that with my dad. But yeah, we're going to check this out. We're going to find out what it's all about. Obviously, this is US and not UK, so there might be some differences there between the different countries. But it'll be interesting to watch either way. If you want to watch the video without me waffling over the top of it, you can certainly do that by clicking the link down below in the description. It's always down there. Check it out if you want to check it out without me waffling. Other than that, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Helps with that mysterious YouTube algorithm. Let's watch this and let's find out what's going on.
The aircraft carrier is on a mission for months with about 5,000 sailors on board.
Ooh.
It is very vulnerable, and therefore there's a high probability of someone dying on board.
Yep. I wonder how they communicate that with the family. I wonder how they do that. Do they just say he died and we buried him at sea? Because, like, surely the family have a say, right?
The famous flight deck where planes take off and land is also used for funeral ceremonies when someone dies on board.
Weird.
What happens when someone dies in the middle of the sea, and why is the burial carried out at sea and not on land? There is a standard procedure for a disposition at sea. Everyone attending the funeral must be appropriately dressed in the uniform of the day.
Yeah, I mean, we know. I have a feeling like we can, as former military members, right? As a former Royal Marines commando, we're gonna kind of understand like the ceremony itself. I'm presuming, but because I've done funeral service in the Royal Marines, and it's not fun. But I'm more wondering about the intricacies of the family. Like, do they get a say? Are these people who were from the ship but then died on land and requested to be buried at sea? Do you know what I mean?
The adjutant, also known as the officer of the deck, announces, "All hands bury the dead," to the members of the ship. If possible, the ship is brought to a stop. All colors of flags aboard the ship are then brought to half-mast. The casket bearers, the firing party, and the bugler come on deck, and they're joined by other crew members. The casket bearers consist of 6 to 8 crew members, depending on the combined weight of the deceased and the casket. The casket bearers will be on both sides of the coffin and line up in order of height. The deceased may or may not be qualified to have a burial at sea. For the dead to be buried at sea, the deceased must be a uniformed officer on active duty.
So they have to be an officer? They can't just be a regular serving member? That's interesting. That's very interesting.
The deceased can also be a retired Navy sailor or an honorably discharged veteran.
Interesting.
Burials at sea have been a long-standing tradition of the Navy. It's been in existence almost as long as sailors have ventured into the seas.
Whoa.
For the first burials at sea, the deceased was usually sewn into a sailcloth before the body would be sent overboard. There were also religious ceremonies, according to the faith of the deceased.
Interesting.
Nowadays, the deceased is placed in a coffin.
I wonder what that coffin's made of, because it looks kind of metallic, doesn't it, in a way? Which is very interesting.
The ceremony can take many forms. The deceased might be sewn into a sailcloth the old-fashioned way, in a casket, in an urn, or their cremated remains might be spread in the sea. Sometimes the cremains of the body might be mixed to form a block. This concrete block is then dropped into the sea to form a man-made reef.
Oh, I like that. I like that. That's a great idea. That's such a good idea. Turn you into a reef with a little plaque on it. That's brilliant.
The ceremony is conducted with military honors, including a rifle salute and the playing of taps. The exact details of the ceremony may vary depending on the individual's rank, service history, and personal wishes. The process of burying a dead...
So it sounds like they can be requested. I don't get this lump. I need to short my beard out, don't I? It does sound like they can be requested from veterans to be buried at sea, which is really interesting, to be fair, because I bet there's a lot of Navy personnel that genuinely would prefer that. At the same time, it means that the families can't say bye, doesn't it? Which is also kind of strange.
U.S. Navy sailor at sea involves several steps and is a solemn and dignified ceremony that is carried out with the utmost respect for the deceased. First, the body of the deceased sailor is prepared for burial at sea by being placed in a weighted canvas shroud. The shroud is tied with a line and secured with a piece of canvas or burlap.
Interesting.
Once the body is prepared, a burial at sea ceremony is held on the deck of the ship. The ceremony...
They obviously don't go down in there with the flag on it. I know America's very touchy when it comes to the flag touching the floor and all that good stuff. They're very keen on not letting that happen.
Typically includes a chaplain who leads the crew in prayers and readings, as well as a rifle party who performs a 3-volley salute. A 3-volley salute, also known as a rifle salute, is a traditional military honor given to fallen sailors and veterans during funeral and memorial ceremonies.
Some of these people don't look like they know how to fire a rifle. Did you see this? Have you seen these drills?
The 3 volleys are fired by a rifle party consisting of 7 members, who are typically members of the honor guard or members of the deceased's unit. The process of a 3-volley salute begins with the rifle party forming a line and facing the casket or burial site. The party consists of a rifleman, who is the leader of the party and is responsible for giving commands, and 6 other riflemen who serve as the firing squad. The rifleman then gives the command to present arms, and the riflemen raise their rifles to the present position, which is a position in which the rifle is held at a 45-degree angle with the barrel point.
I have a lot of veterans who watch these videos. We know all about this stuff, don't we?
Pointing upwards. Next, the rifleman gives the command to ready, aim, and the riflemen adjust their aim so that their rifles are pointed towards the sky. Finally, the rifleman gives the command to fire, and the riflemen fire 3 volleys in unison.
Yeah.
Veterans during funeral and memorial.
I'm gonna skip that back. We already know all about if you've been in the military, you know all about that.
Ceremonies. It's a tradition that has been carried out by the U.S. military for many years and is a way of showing respect for the deceased and their service to their country. After the ceremony, the body is transported to the ship's fantail, where it's placed on a canvas litter and slid into the sea. As the body enters the water, the ship's crew members salute, and the ship's bell is rung. The body is then allowed to sink to the bottom of the ocean.
Yeah.
In a scenario where the deceased has to be taken to land while the aircraft carrier is on deployment.
All right, so now we're getting into the intricacies of what happens if someone dies while they're out on ship. You have to remember as well, it also depends on the scenario. Like, if you're in the middle of a genuine war, then they're not... Most of the time, if it's like they have to stay out there, they're going to do burials at sea and stuff. Pretty sure that happened during World War I and II. I think that happened during the Falklands. My dad would be able to correct me on that. But now we're going to get into the intricacies of what actually happens now while there's no war going on and someone dies out at sea.
The body is placed in a body bag and stored in a freezer known to sailors as a reefer. This storing procedure is to preserve the body until the deceased can be transferred to a morgue. Unless the vessel is at war or engaged in a battle, the deceased can be purse-transed to a medical examiner in a couple of days.
Yeah.
Otherwise, the body might be preserved for weeks, sometimes months. However, if there's no request to deliver the body to land, the sailor is buried at sea.
All right, so what they probably do then is they probably let the family know, and then the family decide, yeah, we want him back or her back, or no, bury him at sea. Or if there's no answer, then they get buried at sea.
Sometimes, burial at sea may also include the scattering of the deceased ashes. In this case, the ashes are placed in a biodegradable urn and scattered into the water.
Interesting.
It is not customary to burn the bodies of deceased.
Oh, imagine if that went all over the side of the ship. That's not a vibe, is it?
U.S. Navy sailors on an aircraft carrier. The U.S. military does not have a practice of cremating the bodies of fallen service members. Instead, deceased U.S. Navy sailors are typically buried at sea or transported back to land for burial in a cemetery. If a sailor dies on an aircraft carrier, their body would typically be prepared for burial at sea in a weighted canvas shroud. A burial at sea ceremony.
I wonder if they keep coffins on hand in case any of this happens. Like, the whole thing's like horrible to see. It's funerals are not fun. I did a couple of military funerals. Yeah, and it was horrible. Not to mention, I got sent this video, which is weird considering as of recording this, it's Tuesday when I'm recording this. Yesterday, I literally went to my granddad's funeral, and it was incredibly difficult. Incredibly difficult. Funerals are horrible. They're genuinely horrible, and the ceremonies, the traditions, are all means and ways of saying bye. And I think that when it's a burial at sea for someone who's requested it, it's probably very, formal. Everyone probably has their place. But if someone actually dies on ship and then has to be buried by their friends, that funeral is going to be a very tough day for a lot of these individuals, a lot of them.
Ceremony would then be held on the deck of the ship, followed by the sailor's body being transported to the ship's fantail and slid into the ocean.
I do want to preface this again. I'm not watching this because of the unfortunate circumstance that I went to my granddad's funeral yesterday. I actually legitimately got sent this video and said, you should watch this video. It's really interesting. And I was just like, yeah, it seems like a video I should watch. Complete coincidence. But now it's bringing up a lot of horrible stuff in my head about yesterday, which was really horrible and really hard to watch. If you're watching this, Dad, Stephen, my brother, I love you both. Yesterday was tough, but I'm glad we were there together. Love yous.
In some cases, the deceased body may be transported back to land for burial in a cemetery. In this case, the body would be placed in a casket and transported by plane or ship to the chosen cemetery. A funeral service would then be held at the cemetery, followed by the burial of the sailor's body in a grave.
Yeah, so a traditional burial.
The process of burying a U.S. Navy sailor on land is similar to the process of burying a civilian. This service typically includes prayers, readings, and music, as well as a eulogy or other remarks about the deceased. The service may also include a military honor guard who performs a rifle salute and presents a folded American flag to the deceased family. After the funeral service, the deceased sailor's body is transported to the cemetery for burial.
The Marines.
Overall, the process of burying a U.S. Navy sailor on land involves several steps and is a solemn and respectful ceremony that honors the life and service of the deceased.
It's very interesting. They're all like very big funerals, so these must have been like really, high individuals. The ones that, so I did a couple for when I was battle casualty replacement in the Royal Marines. I did a couple then, and they were definitely more intimate with the family and stuff like that. It was really hard. It was really difficult.
Deceased. It's a tradition that has been carried out by the U.S. Navy for many years and will continue to be a part of the Navy's history and heritage. What do you think about this respected tradition? Feel free to drop your thoughts in the comments below.
I don't know. I feel like it's a great video. Head over to the description if you want to watch it without me waffling over the top of it. It was a great video. I can only go off personal preference, right? I wasn't in the Navy. I was in the Royal Marines, even though they're part of the Navy, blah, blah, blah. We won't get into that. I have no interest in being buried out at sea. That's something I wouldn't want at all. I've always said to my wife to Steph, that I want to be buried in a forest. I want to be buried in a forest, under a tree, let all the energy from my body be used for insects and nature and the grass and the trees and all that stuff, but people have their own little preferences, right? Maybe the reason I like to be out in the woods is because I was in the Royal Marines, and that's where we did a lot of the training, was out in the woods, and I have a very big connection to that style of terrain. Yeah, a lot of thoughts about this. I feel like maybe I'm just a bit sad from yesterday. I probably shouldn't have picked this video to watch when I got sent it. Probably should have been like, nah, mate, I'll watch something else instead. But I guess it was, you know, it's late, and I was like, all right, just find 2 videos that have been sent to me. Which, if you want to send me videos, people send me videos all the time on Discord. You can certainly do that, all right? But yeah, great video. It'll be down in the description down below if you want to watch the video without me waffling on top of it. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Helps with that mysterious YouTube algorithm. And other than that, I'll see you in the next video. I love you all. Goodbye.